So today, we're going to talk about something that is absolutely critical for any organization that wants to do more than just survive in this crazy, unpredictable world. We're talking about integrated risk management. Let's dive right in.
Seriously, think about that for a second. In an age of constant disruption, being ready for anything isn't just a nice to have. It's pretty much the line between staying in the game and being completely wiped out. So let's explore how to build an organization that's truly ready for whatever's coming next.
Okay, first things first, we gotta understand the battlefield we're on, because the very nature of risk itself has changed. And I mean fundamentally changed. And that's really where our story begins.
And here's the thing you really need to get. These risks don't live in their own little boxes. A geopolitical mess can trigger a supply chain nightmare, which then causes an economic downturn, all while you're fending off a cyber attack. It's a massive, tangled web.
And this just nails the core challenge, right? The old way of thinking was, okay, let's put out that fire over there. But today, a tiny spark in one part of your business can set the entire organization ablaze, simply because everything is so deeply connected.
And that is exactly why the traditional model is just broken. I mean, when your IT team, your finance team, and your operations team are all off in their own corners, managing your own risks, nobody is seeing the big picture. It's kind of like three blindfolded people trying to describe an elephant. Sure, each one is right about the part they're touching, but no one has a clue what the whole animal looks like.
So, if the old way is out, what's in? Well, this brings us to the hero of our story, Integrated Risk Management, or IRM for short.
Now, the most important thing to get about IRM is that it's not some new department or a fancy piece of software. It's a mindset. It's a total cultural shift. It's all about weaving risk awareness into the very DNA of how your organization thinks, operates, and makes decisions every single day. I absolutely love this metaphor. A healthy nervous system feels everything that's happening in the body. Heat, pressure, pain, and then coordinates a smart response. Well, that's exactly what IRM does for a business. It connects all the different parts so the whole organization can feel and respond to threats and opportunities as one unified body. So let's really break down the difference here. In the old world, you have these slow, knee-jerk reactions happening in different corners of the company. With IRM, everyone is looking at the same map. Your decisions become fast, they're coordinated, and maybe most importantly, they're truly strategic.
Okay. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you, actually do it? Let's get practical and open up the playbook. It boils down to a 4-step cycle. First, you identify. Then, you analyze. You collaborate with everyone. And finally, you adapt. And the key word here is cycle. This isn't a one-and-done project you tick off a list. It's a constant loop of sensing, analyzing, and evolving.
The first step is identification, and that word, holistically, is everything. This means you've got to look beyond the obvious stuff like financial risks and start thinking about everything: distant regulatory changes, emerging tech, brand reputation, the whole shebang. It's about getting a genuine 360-degree view. So once you see the potential risks, you need to understand them, and this is where data becomes your superpower. Seriously. Instead of just guessing, you can use analytics to measure your exposure and predictive models to see what might be just around the corner. You're basically turning raw information into foresight. And this is what that looks like. When you actually quantify risk, it stops being this vague, scary monster under the bed and becomes a portfolio you can manage. A chart like this tells you exactly where your biggest vulnerabilities are, so you can put your resources where they'll do the most good, instead of just running around putting out the loudest fire. All right, collaboration. This is where the magic really happens. You can have the best data on the planet, but if it's locked away in one department's spreadsheet, it's basically useless. Real IRM means tearing down those organizational silos and getting people talking. And just look at how this works. Every single department has a unique and vital piece of the risk puzzle. Finance sees market shifts. IT gets the cyber threats. Operations knows every weak link in the supply chain. It's only by putting all those pieces together that leadership can finally see the whole picture and set a clear strategy. And finally, adaptation. Look, a risk management plan gathering dust on a shelf is completely worthless. The world changes and your strategies have to change with it. This means running what-if scenarios, wargaming potential futures, and using real-time monitoring to stay nimble and ready for anything. So, after all this effort, what's the big payoff? What kind of future are you actually building when you go all in on IRM? Let's talk about that.
The benefits here go way beyond just, preventing bad stuff from happening. This is about playing offense. When you really get your arms around your risks, you make smarter bets. You move faster than your competitors. You build incredible trust with your investors and your customers. At the end of the day, IRM isn't just a shield, it's an engine for sustainable long-term growth.
And this quote just sums it up perfectly. It's not about building a rigid, concrete wall that's going to shatter at the first big impact. No, it's about weaving a strong, flexible fabric of resilience that allows your organization to bend without breaking and to adapt to whatever the world throws at it. And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? Risk is a constant. It's a guarantee. The only variable is how prepared you are. So the real question you have to ask is this. Are you building an organization that's fragile and reactive, or one that's integrated, aware, and built to rise to any occasion?